having been totally distracted. That was easy, wasn't it? Let's get on with that platform extension. Well, I've got one of those keyboard vacuum cleaners and a power bank, and we're going to try and clean up a bit and just get the little bits out of the track. I really should go and steal Hillary's vacuum cleaner, but let's see if we can do it with this first. Do you know, I think I could suck through a straw better than that thing's working. Let me go get the big one. All right, here comes the big guns. You call this one Nunu, and if you know why, you're sad as I am. Well, that's better. That was exciting. I think we lost 2 people. Signalman's still there. There were 2 resistors there. I hope I've still got them. Yes, we've still got the class 20. It didn't suck that up. Smooth as the proverbial baby's bottom. Yeah. Now we just got to line things up. A little bit of tacky glue under each end, and we'll be fine. One of the problems I have is these lights. That's wood, so I drilled a hole the right size, shoved it in. I didn't even have to glue them, look. With the light here, I'm going to go right through and into the baseboard, but it'll be interesting trying to thread the wires through there. I'll manage, but how do you keep the light upright? That's going to be interesting. Must be a way, but I don't want to have this not glued down. So we'll see what happens. Now, I used to have a specific drill bit for this set of lights. Don't know if I still have it. We'll find out in just a second. It's exactly the same size as the lamp post. Well, I think I've found it. You can tell by holding the drill between your fingers. If anything, it's too thin, but I can wiggle a little bit if necessary. Let's drill the hole before I stick the platform down. Yeah, there they are. That's the wires. You couldn't make it up, could you? Right in the middle of a rat nest. I had removed that. This pad was right where that was going to be. One of the very few that actually stuck. And remember I talked about these things. There's a few of those still around. I've gone to those. This area needs a tidy up. I'll glue these loose ends, put a bead of glue underneath and just stick it down. Yeah, this is maybe a millimetre, maybe 2. So a scale 3 or 6 inches lower by touching the board than the one up here. I'm perfectly willing to live with that. Now glue, a little bit of glue there. I could have done this before we put it down. And actually this corner too. That one's relatively easy. I think this is the card separating. It's old. I mean, this has been in my I'll use that one day drawer for well over 10 years. This is just proof that stuff does get used in the I'll use that one day drawer. Now, let's, you can see right there. Let me show you. That's where the wires go through the hole. This is the insulation underneath. So all I'm doing is putting a bead of glue along the bottom there. Easier said than done with the camera in the way. You're right in the way. Sorry, you're going to have to move. Can't park there, mate. I have no idea what you can see over there. But if you can see, good. So the glue is actually going on the infrastructure underneath, not actually on the sidewalls, which is, in my view, a clever thing, because if you ever do have to cut it up, you'll never remember you've done it, and you'll just give it a tug and wonder why it isn't coming. And a little bit on the corners there. And then one more place I want to put it is along the face of there. Very brave. Right. Did the cables go back down the hole? They didn't, of course not. Right. Now we can put a bit of glue. I really don't know if you can see or if you'll ever hear this. Just a little bead of glue around the base of the lamppost, and then this cover, the one that just slid down the pole, if you can see it, it'll squidge all the glue out, make a big old mess, and we'll clean that up, but we'll know there's glue under it then. Yeah, I can live with that. Is it straight? I've learned to look at them two ways. It's in place and it's holding. Just a little bit of ballast holding that end up. Again, I'm not taking it all out to mess with it, but just over there, the ballast just cuts in there right where I don't want it. This is the gap I was talking about. Just come a little bit too far, so we'll put something or other at the bottom of the ramp. And other than that, see the difference in colour? That is just age. It's the same packet, I think. This bit's slightly lighter, so maybe not. But anyway, it looks just fine. What we need now is a roundel that says underground with the name of the station, which we still haven't decided. The signal? No idea. Certainly doesn't live there. Well, it could. There you go. It's for the bay platform. So what's just happened is the bay has grown by that much. Good. Let it all dry and we'll come back and see it. Ziploc bags, the wonderful things. I'll show you why in a moment. Not quite an A4, but everything's in there, and I shall put that in the filing cabinet instead of the manila envelope it was in. And this way I'll be able to see it. Glue, lichen, scatter materials. What is he up to now? Well, all of that for that tiny little bit of path. Now, here's a little trick. These are Ziploc bags again. The moment I open that, there's no way of resealing it. I really believe that that is what I used before, and I ran out of it and got another one. So I'll try not to open the dirt and just open this and then put the rest in there. Now I will put the packaging in there, and then the dirt packet. Now I have tried very hard just to open the corner and then tape it back up, and it never works. So once I've done this, I will just pop the whole bag back in. Whoops, too much, and it's not the same colour, but we'll make it match. Second rule, don't touch it, and I did. And we'll wait for that to dry. Might be the same stuff or not, I don't know. Looks similar. It'll be close enough. And we wait for it to dry and then we'll slurp that bit up. Yeah, the first rule of scatter materials is don't touch it. And you saw me put my finger straight in it. All that does is makes it look terrible and spreads the glue out. Once it's dry, you saw where the glue was, so most of that is loose and will just wash up before I take the vacuum cleaner back. Not quite the same colour, I can live with it, but that's after the vacuum cleaner has done its job. Now we've got this little spot there. I'm quite intentionally running the glue out here just in case I haven't got the same colour blend again. No, I don't have dozens of versions of this. Let's move that train out of the way. So I don't think we can be too far off with this. Something like that. And again, it looks a bit lighter than the stuff that's down. That may just be time. It may be that the glue's not dry. Who knows? But it's as good as I can get. Well, there you go. 3 new lights in. Of course they're not working. I haven't wired them up yet. We're letting the glue set and then I'll climb underneath and hook them up. But that's what I've been up to. The ruler's still there, keeping a little bit of weight on the edging. We've gained some shrubs here by the signal box, trying to disguise the gap. There's a little bit of a step there. I'll put a bit of a concrete step there once everything is dry. And this is so that the signalman can get up onto the platform. It'll be just a slab shoved under there and painted grey. That should work. And so that you know how I found the drill bit, it was in the box. I dropped it in the box intentionally the last time I did this, but of course this was a new packet, and so the drill hadn't transferred. So that's where I keep it, because that's the way I will find it again the next time. Just clamping up a cable clip with a bit of glue on the other side of there, put the solder on the inside, I don't keep banging into this. So lots of little itty bitty jobs today. Getting the front on there would be the next thing to do. Relatively straightforward and will make a big difference. Let's do that. A rather mundane evening. I'm making a couple of cottages. I don't think they have dividing floors, at least I hope not, because there's not room for it through there. So when we light those, and yes, I'm already thinking about that, we'll just hang one light high up. I don't think we're going to see much through those windows. They're tiny. The other thing is some cable arrived, which is rather nice. Lots of black stuff. I use a lot of this. And same thing, only a twin version. So yeah, that's my shopping. All very exciting. I mean, how boring can you get? 2 cardboard boxes with the wire sticking out of them. The hole is me. I punch holes in the boxes. I have a box of wire that came that way and it works beautifully. So why wouldn't I do it when I buy cable and it comes in a box? Prevents that kind of a mess in my drawer. Anyway, I'm sure you don't need to see me finishing off a couple of cottages. These are to go, well, originally they were to go beyond the pub and the shop over there, all the way over the back. But yeah, we'll see how they show up. They're going to be all the way at the back of the board there. We'll see. So all I'm doing is pottering. It's a work week, so I've only got a couple of minutes a day down here while I potter around finding things to do after my tea. I had breakfast for dinner tonight. I do that every now and again. So you cook a lovely cooked breakfast because you didn't have time to eat anything this morning and you have breakfast for dinner. So anyway, on with these little cottages. Yeah, they kind of look quite cute. They'll look the part. I will say I have found that there really isn't a good range of houses and things that, yeah. I was thinking about that on the way home today. I think what it is people expect you to be building a model railway and not a model village. But with a layout this big, you really do kind of need something. For example, that chapel, lovely looking thing, but it's resin and it's solid. So you can't put any lights in it. You can't have people sitting in the pews or anything like that. And so I have a funeral instead. So there's a couple of hearses out the back. I don't know if I've told you this before. That's my brother. He's an undertaker. And all over the layout are these seemingly random people. That's a friend of mine. He used to be an extreme runner, and I was always very proud of him. Okay, it's true there's some people on the layout that are just there, but we used to have a caravan, and that's supposed to be my wife just locking up the caravan before she goes off to the market, which is just over there. Yeah, lots of memories. Now there's a funny one. I just saw that on the layout and I forgot. I had it. This is a three-wheel milk float. Milk float. Battery powered, these things. They used to come up the street early in the morning and deliver the milk. And yes, of course I remember them. It's the bottles of milk in the back. What does it say on it? Perfect milked, perfectly bottled. Well, there's a story about that. There's a story about everything. When I was at school, we used to get a little bottle of milk every day to drink. And one day, there was a malformed bottle, we were told it was. And inside the milk bottle was another milk bottle. There was a whole piece of glass inside it. And I think everybody was terrified that one of us had drunk some glass or something. So they had an inspector come to the school, and we all had to sit there with our milk bottles. And he told us all about how safe the dairy was that produced the milk. I had no idea it said Birmingham on the back. That's not right. We're in the south. Although I quite like Birmingham. But, or perhaps they borrowed it from there. But these were electric vehicles back in the day when I suppose the electric vehicles weren't really a thing. But they are these days, aren't they? Interesting. The point of that is, what on earth would the layout be without some memories hiding in there? So there's a suggestion for you. Why don't you find a little story from your past to hide in the railway somewhere? These clips, they sometimes spring out of my fingers. And if they do, they snap shut and they break. So I've only got about half a tub of them left. I must order some more. Or find an equivalent. Oh, that's the other thing we've been doing. Been making the girder bridge or the plate bridge. So it will need painting, I'm quite sure. But there's the, see the metal plates on the top there? It's not very clear, but the typical great big lump of cast iron with the rivets going through it, holding everything together. You might remember me talking about putting the groove side instead of that side up against the wall, or the other way round. It's now going, that's the inside, because I can lay a bead of glue in that channel there and it will stick. Where the other way up, it's going to ooze all up and go everywhere. So that was my thinking there. We'll have a look and see when I get them on. I doubt that'll be tonight. I've only got about half an hour before it's bedtime. And these houses are going to take that long, and even longer if I stay chatting with you. We'll see what happens. Let's fast forward. These houses take way longer to make than you ever anticipate them doing. I wish there was a range of houses that you could just buy instead of having to make them. But they're kind of enjoyable. I kind of like making them. And there was a dividing wall. Of course there was. The big clamps, I'll show you those in a minute. It feels like a woodworking project, and sometimes with the frustration, I just want to squeeze the handle a little harder. With the glue drying and these huge clamps. Now, don't worry, these clamps would be big enough. They're woodworking clamps, of course. They're the smaller version. And all it's doing is just holding a little bit of pressure. They're not squeezing. If I were to squeeze those, they'd crush the house. I feel like doing that with some of these houses every now and again. But all that's doing is covering my mistakes. So I was supposed to have put these windows in after, but I didn't. See, I didn't read the instructions. I will say I don't like that printing on the back of the curtains. 2 reasons. One is because they're part of the instructions and I will now use that as an excuse for not having read the instructions. And the other thing is, if I did put a light in there, it would shine through, to the point where I actually made my own curtains. Do you like those? Not quite right, but they're a pair I made myself out of a piece of paper. Light sticking through. You might have seen me struggling with those during the sequence. Messy old workbench. I really do need to do some shopping. There's a few things. I've got a list over here on my notepad. A few things that are coming up. I've ordered a few more tubes of glue. Let's get these clamps out of the way. Yeah, so we'll be lighting the bottom. I've been having a think about lighting. I'll make a video about that very soon. There's a bubble car that has some lights I want to fix. And there's that fire engine. We'll have a talk about it. This is one of those things nobody will ever notice. I kind of like those doors without the plush white framing. I think that's more realistic for an outhouse. It's just as well, because I forgot to put the white background in. It was laying on the bench halfway through. I really don't read the instructions on these things, and I probably should, because there's little nuances that catch me every time. Typically, you get a choice of ridge tiles, either the slate or the tile. They used to be on paper, and I think somebody must have complained about it. I like them on paper, and here's why. They cover up the mistakes, and now that you've got paper, you get the white line down there too. So I have to ink the ridge. I need to cover up these corners. Sometimes you can just run a pen down them, but I don't know. It just doesn't look quite right with or without, but certainly that's not right. And one of them I noticed I could get a big, I don't know which one it was. There's a big gap anyway in one of them where you can actually get something through. I'm going to put something over them. I just don't know what. Let me get them finished instead of waffling on about getting them finished. Well, there we are. Not too terrible. A couple of houses or cottages, and the outhouses or the sheds. I haven't yet made the chimney pots. I don't do those until these are in place and settled, because if you do, you're gonna knock them off. So yeah. So this video has been a bunch of bits and pieces. In the next video, we'll look at this bubble car, which in a funny sort of way has been the cause of all of this station extension. I'll explain next time. Thanks for watching. See you then.